This is the fireplace wall in my family room. It's in serious need of a facelift. The project is to install a gas fireplace and to cover the brick with stacked stone. As a disclaimer, I've never done this before. I've watched a few videos, and then I got started. If I can do it, chances are you can too. The stone turned out to be the easiest to pick out. While shopping for a gas fireplace, we came across a display that used a rock we thought was perfect. It came from Sunset Stone, a local supplier. The fireplace took a lot longer to settle on. We finally decided on a small local shop and picked out an insert with a flame that we really liked, and with a kind of a prairie grid style surround. And of course, it had to operate with a remote control. So, what else? The mantle is looking a little bit tired. This will have to be replaced. This is something that I can make in my shop. I noticed that the hearth is not centered on the fireplace opening. It's longer on the right side. That will have to be shortened. And there's the firewood pass-through door. It connects to a door on the outside, and I've always considered that more of a spider pass-through. This will have to go. Lastly, there's the grill in the room. There's a large built-in barbecue grill. This must have been an extravagance back in the day, but it too has to go. Let's get this project started. First, enter the pros. The fireplace install was done by Advantage Fireplace, who brought in the gas line installer and the electrician. End to end, this took a few days. When they finished, it was so nice. Buying a good insert and hiring a skilled and reputable installer was money well spent. Now, 3 years later, I have no regrets. Preparing the brick was another where to start moment. As usual, easy first. The barbecue and firewood pass-through had a brick frame that stuck out about ½ an inch. I was able to knock these down to be flush with a field of brick using a masonry chisel. The brick just kind of split away into flakes. Any small areas that remained high required a little more aggressive chiseling, but overall it was not a hard task. And the mess was really just falling to my feet. It was not dusty, didn't spread over a large area, and in no time I was done with that task. The last area of demo is the hearth. Because I'll be using new hearthstone, the top layer of brick has to be removed. This turned out to be the easiest task of all. Tapping the chisel in the mortar joints just knocked the bricks out with little effort. I built the mantle in my shop ahead of the fireplace rock project. The wood I chose was hickory. I had used this on several earlier projects and really liked the contrasting colors in the wood grain. And I thought it was something just a little bit different. The profile design was inspired by projects I'd done years earlier and mixed with details I'd seen on other mantles. The corbels were made from laminating a couple layers of hickory and then freehand sketching the profile. By the time I had the fireplace wall prepped, the mantle was finished and ready to mount. In the wall area of the barbecue opening, I had in mind to install a TV mount. Filling in the hole was a straightforward task. I would make a simple 2x4 frame and then cover it with cement board. But the TV mount added just a little bit of complexity. First, I wanted a cable chase so wires didn't have to be exposed. And because I now had access to the area where a TV mount would be, I wanted to install a really sturdy backplate. A scrap piece of 1/4 inch aluminum would be perfect. Taking into consideration the typical TV mount spacing, I drilled and tapped 1/4 inch mounting holes accordingly. The wall stone which would later cover this plate will have matching holes to accommodate round spacers and bolts. Almost time to start setting the rock, but the hearth is not quite ready. The base of the hearth must be raised so that when the hearthstone is sitting on it, it will just clear the bottom edge of the fireplace surround. Concrete will be used to raise the hearth, so I'll make a wooden form to contain the concrete. With that in place, I mix the cement in a wheelbarrow outside and then bring in the wet cement using a 5-gallon bucket. I filled the form within ½ an inch of the finished surface. Then a couple days later, I mixed a bag of self-leveling cement. This finished up the hearth base. After stripping the forms, I'm ready for the rock. Finally, it's time for the stone. We brought home the first boxes. It was mid-February, and yes, it was cold. We took out about 1.5 boxes and laid the stones out mostly face up. This way we could see the color and mold patterns. Next to the pile of stones, we set up a folding table. Here we could lay out the stones for pattern and color before committing the stone to the wall. There are a few things we learned early on. First, use the mortar recommended by the supplier for the job. Second, even after laying out the stones on the folding table, dry fit each one. One task that followed us through the entire project was the stone-to-stone fit. Many of the stones had a flashing from the mold process. If the test fit determined this to be excessive, I took the stone outside and ground the flashing off using an angle grinder. Keep a bucket of water and an old paintbrush at your work area. The water is needed to clean hands and tools, and we also use the paintbrush to wet the back of each stone prior to applying mortar. As an amateur, don't do too much at any one session. I typically did 3 rows at a time. Use shims to keep the desired spacing between stones, and keep it level as possible.